Joining us now, former Chelsea striker Tony Cascarino is on the line. Hello, Tony.
Good morning, Cass.
Are you, Ali? Are you, Laurie? Okay, from Crazy Chris to Crazy Cass.
I know,
That's
right?
it, Crazy Chris to Crazy Cass. Cass, I was want to ask you, mate, I watched that game last night. A little bit concerned for Chelsea, I've got to say. And Frank said there, you know, he doesn't have a Terry, he doesn't have a Costa, doesn't have a Lampard. I just stopped watching it, mate, and I don't know whether you agree. I thought they lacked, I said first thing at 6 o'clock this morning, it looked to me as though they lacked a little bit of aggression, and by that I don't mean running about kicking and tackling people. I just mean a general desire, somebody to grab the team by the scruff of the neck and get them through this tough period.
Yeah, and look, Ali, he's got internationals in every position. He's got 2 England fullbacks. He's got players that have played at the top level and won things, also in his team. You're right, but he did select a midfield, and I don't know about you, Ali, but when I saw that midfield, I thought, well, none of them can make a tackle. Now, you know, Kovacic, good footballer, Mason Mount, the highest energy of the 3 of them in there, and then Havertz. You know, to me, it was a midfield that just stunk of. Well, is it a surprise that 2 of their midfielders scored goals? Because it wasn't to me, you know, watching Ndidi score a goal and then watching Maddison breaking forward. They probably loved that team sheet when they saw it. You know, so there was so much wrong with last night's performance. Frank's been in the job quite a long time. He's been given the one commodity that doesn't happen at Chelsea, and that is time. Okay, he's been in the job longer than David Moyes. He's been in the job longer than Jose Mourinho, Mikel Arteta. 5 months more is what Brendan's done at Leicester, more than Frank in time. Laura will tell you, Unai Emery got 18 months. Well, that's exactly what Frank's had, 18 months at Stamford Bridge. So there's lots and lots of worrying concerns. And you're right. And when he talked about the energy, well, he selects a team. They do one thing that very few teams don't do in the top level. If you think of Liverpool and you go, well, you can have Fabinho in midfield, Henderson, Wijnaldum, ball winners, get the ball back. If you look at Fred and McTominay doing that for Man United, you look at Rodri, Fernandinho at Leicester, all do that. That, to me, is the one thing that Chelsea... Yes, I know N'Golo Kante can do that, but he's only one. And if they ever lose that one, they are in serious trouble in the engine room of a team.
I want to ask you about Timo Werner because an offside goal obviously could have made all the difference. He's just hitting a patch, isn't he, where it looks like he's really devoid of confidence and he can't score at the moment. Whereas at the beginning he looked like he'd kind of adapted to life. It would feel a lot different, wouldn't it, if a signing like that was scoring goals that he should be scoring?
I don't quite get it, Laura, because he started well. He got goals in the early part of the season. I think Frank has shuffled way too much, that team. He's been spinning plates with defensive areas, midfield, forward lines, and yes, he hasn't played well. But when you invest so much money, and if you want a look at investment and recruitment, what it does to a football club, just think of, you know, the 2 England fullbacks who I took with Ben Chilwell and obviously there's Reece James, both England fullbacks. You know, if you think Chilwell cost 50 million, well, Castana come in for 25, Fofana come in at 30, there's 55 million, and the boy James Justin, who, by the way, is going to take Ben Chilwell's place as left-back for England, I'm sure, because he is just so good, such a good player.
Yeah.
And you know, you look at that, that's just cost them a tad more than what they paid for Ben Chilwell. So it's a really strange dynamic how Chelsea, and you've touched on, I mean, I've seen a lot of Timo Werner from his days in Germany, international football, and I know he can't play up front on his own. He's not the best left-sided player because Pulisic is at Chelsea on that left side of the pitch. So you're going to have to play like he did in the second half, probably with a 2, and have him with. He's always played with a big man. That's when he plays his best football. And I've referred this before to Michael Owen, where Michael Owen would never have been the player he was, and he'd admit this without Emil Heskey. And I think that's what Timo Werner needs, to be in that position, and probably Frank's going to have to rethink his team slightly, his formation, to get the best out of Timo Werner.
The other one that disappointed me, and I know he's a great player, I've seen him a good few times, but he looked like a boy that was kind of lost, and he looked, as I said, Cass, he looked like a 21-year-old, and that was Havertz. He just looked out his depth.
Yeah, it's a difficult one, Ali. I mean, there was an unbelievable talent there. I saw a lot of him at Leverkusen. I thought Chelsea had made a great signing. Look, he got COVID, and you don't quite know. He's settling in. I still think he doesn't quite know where he's meant to be playing. I don't know about you, Ali, but I feel like he's he's picking up positions where he's getting it and just giving it and not really hurting the opposition. You know, watch James Maddison last night, picking and choosing his runs and driving into areas. That's what I saw Havertz do at Bayer Leverkusen. He would make runs from midfield, and I don't know if, Ali, there was too much luxury of so many choices in forward areas at Chelsea that hinders other players.
I want to ask you a little bit about what you were saying about Frank Lampard and the time that he's been given. So on average, we know they chop and change at Chelsea. It's what they've always done under Abramovich. He's had a new manager every 15 months, Roman Abramovich. Frank Lampard says he's used to the noise, you know, even as a player as well. And he's been that player in the dressing room where he's seen the changes happen and he's had to adapt to new managers and he understands what it's all about. How much pressure do you think he's under now, when that result last night, Cass?
It never goes down well, Laura, when you spend loads and loads of money and certain signings, as we've just touched on, don't work out or not playing well. Because upstairs they go, well, will we give him more money? We'll go and spend again. And they get a little bit nervous, a bit edgy about doing that. So he knows the job at Chelsea will be one that is full of criticism and at times, well, I say at times because it doesn't take a lot for that owner to say, that's enough, I'm making a change. But their performances have been really poor. You know, take the win against Fulham 1-0 and struggled long periods at the game. Their highest team they've beaten in the Premier League this season is 7th. They've not beaten anybody who's been above 7th. So West Ham, the 3-0 one at Stamford Bridge, is their highest result. And I watched that game, and they did enough to get over the line, but not much more. So performance plus results can be a huge problem. Laura, I touched on Unai Emery at Arsenal, and you're an Arsenal fan, so you quite get, and you was very loyal to him. I remember you talking at length and saying you still wanted to stay there, but there becomes a time, he's got 3 home games now, Frank, back-to-back, 1 in the Cup, Luton, and 2 Premier League games. He has to win them. He might make the end of the season, but if he's going to make the end of the season, he's got to go on a run of winning games now. You know, he can't go through getting knocked out of the Cup by Luton or a horrendous result against Burnley or Wolves coming up at Stamford Bridge. You know, that he won't survive that if the owner thinks, we ain't going to make no Champions League. We're way adrift of making that position. So he knows he's walking on eggshells.